Hello everyone and welcome back to the lecture series of CAF 3 Data Systems and Risks. Let me start with a small puzzle. Imagine you go to a library with thousands of books but none of them have titles, authors or categories written on them. Just plain covers. How long would it take you to find a specific book? Probably hours, maybe days, right? Now imagine the same library, but every book has a title, an author, a subject, and even a little card index that shows where it is placed. Suddenly, finding a book takes just seconds. That's the difference metadata makes. In simple words, metadata is data about data. It describes and gives context to the actual data, making it easier to organize, find, and understand. For example, a photograph has metadata, like when it was taken, with which camera type it was taken, and also data about file size. Without metadata, data is like books without titles, valuable but unmanageable. Metadata comes in different forms. Let's break them down. Number one is business metadata. It provides meaning and context. Like customer ID means a unique number assigned to each customer. So it helps non technical users understand what data means. And number two is technical metadata. It describes how and where data is stored, like file name, database table, data type. Number three is operational metadata. It provides details about usage and activity, like when was the file last updated, who accessed it, how many times was it used. Now, why is this so important for governance? There are many reasons. Data discovery makes it easy to find the right data quickly. Data lineage shows where data came from and how it has changed. Consistency standardizes meaning across departments. Compliance, like many regulations, for example GDPR, require proof of how personal data is stored and used. And also error reduction, clear metadata prevents misinterpretation. Think of an online shopping system where customers' purchase records are data and product name, product category, purchase date, payment method, delivery status are metadata. If the company wants to analyze sales trends, metadata helps filter purchases by product category, location, or season. Without metadata, analysis would be chaotic. A government tax department once struggled to match taxpayer records because different databases use different labels for national tax number. Some systems called it tax ID, others NTN, and others like client number. Without metadata management, merging these systems was nearly impossible. Once metadata was standardized, all records could be linked correctly. Think of metadata like labels on grocery items. The food itself are data, and the label showing ingredients, expiry date, and price are like metadata. Would you buy milk without knowing its expiry date? Probably not. That's how important metadata is. So, metadata is data about data, and its types includes business, technical, and operational. And the functions that helps discovery, lineage, compliance, and consistency. And without metadata, data becomes confusing and untrustworthy. Metadata does not just describe data; it makes data usable. Compliance with data regulations. Have you ever noticed those little checkboxes that appear whenever you install an app or sign up for a website asking you to agree to the terms and conditions? Most people just click I agree without even reading it. But let me tell you, behind those checkboxes are powerful data protection laws that companies are legally required to follow. This brings us to today's topic, Compliance with data regulations. In simple words, it means following the legal rules and standards that control how data is collected, stored, processed, and shared. Organizations don't just protect data because they want to, they also do it because the law requires them to. If they fail, the consequences can be severe: huge fines, lawsuits, loss of reputation also. Why is compliance important? There are a number of reasons behind this, like legal obligations. Companies must obey the law just like citizens must obey traffic rules, avoiding penalties. So, fines for non compliance can run into millions. Building trust. Customers trust organizations that handle their data responsibly. Standardization. Regulations force organizations to use best practices, protecting rights, individuals' privacy, and security. Major data regulations around the world. GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, one of the strictest laws in the world, focuses on personal data protection, gives rights to individuals like right to know how their data is used and also right to delete their data. So, right to be forgotten and also right to consent before data is collected. For example, a European company must report a data breach within 72 hours. Similarly, Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, it applies to healthcare data and ensures patient confidentiality and proper handling of medical records. Payment card industry data security standard. It applies to credit card and payment data and requires encryption, secure storage, and restricted access. Sarbanes-Oxley Act. It applies to financial reporting and auditing and prevents fraud by requiring transparency and data integrity. Prevention of Electronic Crimes Act governs electronic crimes and data misuse and criminalizes unauthorized access, cybercrime, and data leaks. In 2018, British Airways was hacked due to poor data security and it was fined around £183 million under GDPR. And another example is in 2019, Google was fined around £50 million for failing to properly inform users how their data was used for ads. So these examples show how regulators are becoming very strict. Think of compliance like traffic rules. You may own the car, and but you must drive according to the rules. So if you break them, you pay fines or even lose your license. Similarly, organizations are in the same position with data. Compliance with data regulations means following laws that protect personal and organizational data. And major law in Pakistan include PECA Act. And compliance avoids fines, builds trust, and ensures individuals' rights are protected. Non-compliance can lead to massive financial and reputational losses. Data governance is incomplete without legal compliance. Policies inside the company must always align with the law outside. Emerging technologies in data governance. You all know that technology never stands still. Every year, new tools and systems appear, changing the way organizations manage and protect data. Now, think about this. 10 years ago, hardly anyone talked about cloud computing. Today, it's everywhere. Similarly, artificial intelligence, blockchain, and Internet of Things are changing the landscape of data governance right before our eyes. Why emerging technologies matter? Traditional governance methods, policies, audits, manual checks are no longer enough. Why? Because data volumes are exploding, cyber attacks are becoming smarter, regulations are getting stricter. Organizations now need advanced technologies to support and automate governance. Let's go through the most important ones: artificial intelligence and machine learning. AI can automatically detect unusual patterns in data like fraud attempts, and machine learning algorithms can clean and classify data faster than humans. It also helps in predictive governance, like spotting problems before they happen. A bank uses AI to monitor transactions in real time. If a suspicious transfer occurs, the system automatically flags it. So, number two is blockchain. Blockchain stores data in tamper proof blocks linked together. Once data is recorded, it cannot be altered without detection. So, great for industries needing trust and transparency. For example, supply chains use blockchain to track products from factory to customer, ensuring authenticity. Number three is cloud computing. It enables organizations to store massive amounts of data at lower cost and also supports scalability. So, easy to expand storage and processing power, but also raises compliance challenges. Where is the data physically located? So, universities store research data on the cloud for global collaboration. Number four is big data analytics. Many organizations now collect not just structured data like numbers, but also unstructured data like videos, social media, Internet of Things, and sensor data. Big data tools allow governance frameworks to handle these large, complex data sets. Like retailers analyze billions of purchase records to detect trends while ensuring customer privacy. Number five is Internet of Things. Billions of devices, cameras, wearables, sensors generate continuous streams of data. Governance ensures this data is collected responsibly and securely. So, a smart city uses Internet of Things traffic sensors but must govern how that data is stored and who has access. Number six is robotic process automation. The software robots that handle repetitive governance tasks and automatically deleting data past its retention date or checking logs for suspicious access. Let's say a healthcare company is handling millions of patient records. AI analyzes patient trends to predict disease outbreaks. Blockchain secures the patient consent process. Cloud stores data at scale. Big data analyzes lab results alongside lifestyle data. And Internet of Things wearables send real-time patient data. And robotic process automation automates compliance checks. Without these technologies, governance would collapse under the weight of so much data. Traditional governance alone cannot handle modern data challenges. AI, blockchain, cloud, big data, Internet of Things, and robotic process automation are reshaping how organizations manage data. These technologies improve automation, transparency, scalability, and compliance. Emerging technologies don't replace governance, they empower it. Drivers for data governance. Let me ask you something. Why do organizations even bother with data governance? Because if you think about it, governance is expensive. It requires technology, training, policies, audits. So there must be powerful reasons that push organizations to adopt it. The first and strongest driver is the law. Governments and regulators now demand that organizations protect personal and financial data. For example, GDPR in Europe and PECA in Pakistan. If companies fail to comply, they face massive fines. So organizations don't just want governance, they must have it. And number two is data quality. Governance ensures that data is accurate, consistent, and reliable. Why is this important? Imagine a company sending invoices with wrong amounts or contacting customers with incorrect phone numbers. Poor data quality damages trust and wastes resources. Good governance improves the quality of decision making. And number three is security and risk management. Data is the new oil, but it's also the new target. Hackers are always trying to steal or tamper with it. Governance provides policies for access control, encryption, and monitoring, reducing the risk of breaches and cyber attacks. Number four is business value and decision making. Organizations today run on data. A retailer uses sales data to decide which products to stock. A hospital uses patient data to improve treatment. Similarly, a bank uses credit history to approve loans. But this is only possible if data can be trusted. Governance turns raw data into a valuable asset for decision making. Number five is operational efficiency. Without governance, departments work in silos, each with its own version of the truth. This leads to duplication, wasted storage, and miscommunication. Governance streamlines data process, saving time, money, and resources. Number six is customer trust. Would you give your data to a company you don't trust? Customers today are very aware of privacy issues. If a company mishandles their data, they simply walk away. Strong governance builds trust by showing that the company protects and respects personal information. And number seven is adoption of new technologies. New technologies like AI, Internet of Things, big data, and blockchain require massive amounts of clean, structured, and secure data. Without governance, these technologies won't function properly. So, the push to adopt modern systems also drives organizations toward governance. Let's consider a bank. The central bank, that is regulator, requires compliance with anti-money laundering laws, say regulatory driver. The bank wants to reduce errors in customers' records, that is data quality driver. It faces cyber threats daily, it's the security driver. And it wants to use AI for fraud detection, it's the technology driver. See how multiple drivers combine to make governance unavoidable. Think of governance drivers like the fuel for a car. The car, that is data governance framework, exists, but without fuel drivers, it won't move. Each driver adds power, compliance, quality, security, trust, efficiency, and also technology. These drivers explain why governance is no longer optional, it's a business necessity. Data governance challenges. So far, we have been discussing the benefits, drivers, and importance of data governance. By now, you might be thinking, well, this sounds perfect. Why would not every organization implement it immediately? But here's the reality governance is easier said than done. In practice, organizations face many challenges, and understanding these challenges is just as important as knowing the benefits. The first challenge is lack of awareness and culture. Many employees don't even realize why governance is necessary. They see it as extra paperwork or restrictions. Without a culture that values data, governance feels like a burden instead of a benefit. If staff keep storing customer data in personal USB drivers, policies won't matter. The second challenge is resistance to the change. Humans don't like change. When organizations introduce new governance rules, employees often resist. Sales staff might complain that strict access controls slow down their work. Managers might resist because governance exposes flaws in their processes. Without change management, governance efforts can fail. And the number three is data silos. In many organizations, departments work in isolation, like HR, finance, marketing, IT. Each keeps its own version of the data. This leads to duplication, inconsistency, and confusion. Breaking down these silos and unifying data is a major challenge. And also a high cost and resource needs. Governance is not cheap. You need specialized staff like data stewards, compliance officers, and you also need software tools for metadata lineage and audits, and you need training programs and also complex regulations. Global organizations must comply with multiple laws like GDPR in Europe and PECA in Pakistan. Navigating these complex, sometimes conflicting rules is very challenging. Many companies still run on legacy systems. Technology integration issues. When you try to introduce new governance frameworks or advanced tools, these old systems often don't integrate smoothly. The result delays, inefficiencies, or even failures. Here's another tricky one challenge Governance does not always produce instant results. Executive may ask, we spend millions, where is the return or investment? Since benefits like trust, compliance, and quality are long term and indirect, it can be difficult to prove success quickly. Let me share a story. A large retail chain wanted to enforce strict governance by requiring that all customer data entries be validated before saving. This slowed down sales staff at checkout counters. Staff became frustrated, managers complained about delays, and customers grew impatient. The result, the project was rolled back. This shows how even good governance initiatives can fail without balancing practically. Think of governance challenges like starting a new diet plan. You know it's healthy, you know it will help in the long run, but it requires effort, discipline, and resisting temptation. So, we have reached the final topic of this chapter. We have already discussed what data governance is, why it's needed, and also discussed about its drivers and its challenges. Now comes the practical question: how can organizations implement governance successfully? Because remember, it's one thing to write policies on paper, but another thing entirely to make them work in real life. That's where best practices and implementation strategies come in. Let's go through the most widely recommended practices. Number one is get executive sponsorship. Governance must start at the top. If senior leadership does not support it, employees won't take it seriously. Executives must act as champions of governance. For example, a CEO publicly committing to customer data privacy sets the tone for the whole company. And number two is start small, then scale. Don't try to govern everything at once. Begin with the department or one type of data, prove success, then expand gradually. For example, a bank might begin with customer KYC, that is, know your customer records, then later extend governance to loans, transactions, and fraud monitoring. And number three is define clear roles and responsibility. So everyone must know their role. For example, data owners must know their role about accountable for data assets. And similarly, data stewards must also know their role about enforce governance daily. And also, the IT teams must know their role about the providing technology support. Without role clarity, responsibility gets lost. And number four is establish policies and standards. Organizations must clearly document data classification rules, storage and retention policies, access controls, compliance requirements. Policies should be practical, not overcomplicated. And number five is use the right technology. Governance needs tools, metadata management software or data quality monitoring tools, also access control systems and audit and reporting tools. So technology makes governance efficient and scalable. And number six is measure and monitor performance. What gets measured gets managed. Organizations must track KPIs like number of duplicate records reduced in data breaches, speed of compliance reporting. This shows leadership that governs adds real value. And number seven is foster a data driven culture. Perhaps the most important practice is to foster a data driven culture. Like employees should see data as a valuable asset, not just numbers. So, regularly training and awareness programs create ownership. Without culture, governance becomes a policing exercise. With culture, it becomes a shared mission. Now, let's look at the step by step roadmap for implementing governance. Step one is assessment. Understand current data problems and risks, like identifying duplication, security gaps, and compliance issues. And step two is about planning. So, define objectives, scope, and assign roles. It is to decide to focus first on customer data. And number three is framework design. Develop policies, standards, workflows. It is like create a classification system, either public, confidential, or restricted. And step 4 is about technology deployment. Implement tools for data quality, metadata, and security. Step 5 involves pilot project like test governance in a small area. So apply a policies to one breach or one department. And step 6 is a full rollout, expand across the organization. And step 7 is continuous monitoring and improvement, like regular audits, reviews, and adjustments. Governance is not a one time project, it's ongoing. Let's imagine a hospital where they realize patient records are inconsistent across departments. So it is like assessment and decide to standardize records starting with emergency services. It is like planning and then to create a central patient ID system. It is the design and after that deploy electronic medical record software. So it is where technology comes in and then test it in one department. So it is like pilot and then they expand to all departments. It is same like rollout and after that regular audits to ensure records remain accurate and secure. This is like monitor. This step by step strategy transforms chaos into order. Remember, governance is not a one time task, it's a continuous process of improvement. Successful governance requires not just rules but leadership, culture, and continuous efforts.